ayes have it.
Other Remedial Provisions Bill, first reading.
This bill is set down for second reading forthwith. Morris Williamson, the Honourable.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Duties of Statutory Officers, Census and Other Remedial Provisions Bill be now read a second time. This bill makes legally necessary and urgently required changes to two different acts, sir, the Statistics Act of 1975 and the Statutes Drafting and Compilation Act of 1920. The changes to the Statistics Act arise from decisions taken to defer the taking of the census following the Canterbury earthquake in February this year, and subsequent decisions to finally agree to conduct a census in 2013. And can I just say to members on the other side, they're welcome to have a few slings and arrows and shots at me, but sir, what happened at the time of the deferral of the census was the first question that needed to be asked is, did we need to actually do one at all? Or should we just have a 10-year break and bring the next one on as planned for 2016? Because that's happened twice in the history of this country. It happened in 1931 because of the in 1931 it didn't happen because of the Napier earthquake, even though it was during that year. It happened because of the Great Depression. And the government of the day decided not to hold a census, and there was a 10-year break. And then it happened again in 1945, sir, and that was during the Second World War, and the government decided. So one of the options that we had to consider, and it went to a Cabinet Committee and ministers put a lot of thought into it, should we actually just can the census for 2011 and pick it back up again in 2016 as is planned and as in the program? But of course there are a number of things that flow from the census, sir. I know the Maori Party are very concerned about the Maori electoral option, which is driven off a census being taken. I know the Minister of Health is very concerned about population-based funding for all of the different DHBs, because if we get those numbers wrong over a 10-year period, it might be that he indeed is actually overfunding certain parts of the country and underfunding others, so population-based funding and others. And I know there's members here in the House, because they say to me all the time, I really hope we can get some new boundaries for the next election, sir. Well, having this census held in 2013 will mean that it means the new boundaries can still be drawn up in time for the 2014 general election. So, sir, the deferral is achieved by amending the current formulation in the Statistics Act 1975 for a census to be undertaken. And I do find it a bit bizarre that this was ever put into an act like this. Quotes, in the year 1976 and in every fifth year thereafter. And what this does is it's by substituting, it just doesn't sort of sit well with modern drafting practices that you lock in stone the exact year. Whereas the bill might have said you should have had an every 5-year census and maybe made some provisions for the Great Depression type situation or a war or indeed the Canterbury earthquake. But it didn't, sir, so what we're doing is amending it and putting in the words 2013. And the fact is that it doesn't change anything from that point on. We go on to a 5-year cycle with 2013. So the amendment does not preclude the continuing analysis of options for the frequency and sequencing of it, but it does actually lock in place a census for 2013, and if no change is made further out into the future, 5 years from there. The bill also obviates the need for the current proclamation process. That's just for the 2013 census. I need to remind Charles Chauvel about that. By enabling the government statistician to appoint, not the minister or anything else, but enabling the government statistician to appoint and notify the day in the Gazette as soon as practicable after the bill comes into force. Now, I heard somebody, I think it might have been Pete Hodgson, say could have been 1 year delay. Well, actually, frankly, there's a huge mechanism that needs to be geared up for it, and until this decision was taken, you were looking for March of 2012. You simply would not have been able to get the infrastructure and the personnel that have to be hired and so on in place. The government statistician advised us you wouldn't get it done in that time frame and be able to guarantee a smooth census, and so that's why we've moved it to 2013. And so it's the government statistician that puts it in the Gazette. The rationale for this latter provision is to facilitate the timely announcement of a census and provide certainty in the planning process. And believe me, certainty is vital for the Department of Statistics when they're going about ramping up their budgets quite amount for that census year and bringing in a lot of staff and personnel that only come in for that short period, like all the enumerators, and then go again at the end of it. The changes to the Statutes Drafting and Compilation Act 1920 is a little bit different, sir, because I'm not an expert on this and it's not even part of the statistics portfolio. It's to deal with an urgent issue of providing for the Chief Parliamentary Counsel to be able to delegate his or her functions, responsibilities, duties and powers. Now, sir, in November 2009, the Cabinet Legislation Committee noted the recommendation of the Law Commission, and I'm a big fan of always going with what the Law Commission recommends. In its report, review of the Statutes Drafting and Compilation Act 1920, and I'm sure all members know that the Law Commission did that review of that Act, including that the legislation should confer on the Chief Parliamentary Counsel express powers to delegate his or her functions. And it currently does not. So the inclusion of the Chief Parliamentary Council's delegation powers in the bill allows the House the opportunity to deal with the matter expeditiously. This is important because it enables the Parliamentary Council office to be effectively managed while the Chief Parliamentary Counsel is on secondment in the United Kingdom from the end of August of this year. The duties of statutory officers, Census and other remedial provisions bill, deals with both of these urgent matters in a straightforward and, in my view, a practical way. It alters the statutory duties of the government statistician by requiring him to conduct the census in 2013. And I can't have been flushed out. These are in the speech notes that I was given from the Attorney General, Mr Miller, which I got last week, so it's a bit hard for you to claim that you flushed me out. Okay. Conduct the census in 2011, and it confers the power on the Chief Parliamentary Counsel to delegate his or her powers, functions and duties. Sir, I commend the bill to the House.
Question is that the motion be agreed to.
I've been flushed out.
Okay.
Leanne